Ancient waterways running dry. Beautiful landscapes turned into junkyards. The atmosphere warming up. We use 1.7 times the Earth's resources, and much of it just to keep up with the latest fashion.
The fashion industry is one of the most polluting industries in the world.
We buy 60% more clothes than 15 years ago, and we only use it half as long. This makes the fashion industry one of the biggest CO2 polluters in the world, and it emits more CO2 than all our flights and maritime shipping combined.
You have a whole system that builds on new garments being produced all the time.
We produce more than 150 billion pieces of garments each year, 60% of it coming from synthetic fibers made out of oil, resulting in 236 tons of non-degradable microplastic being washed out into our oceans every year.
We're coming to a point now where there's simply too much garments out there.
Almost half of all the clothes we produce are thrown away within a year. Only 1% of the fabric is recycled, and 73% of it ends up in landfills.
If we go on this world the way we do now, our children will not have the same situation anymore as we have.
So we need to pull this system and logic apart.
But what happens when we pull it apart? What do we do instead? How do we create a more sustainable fashion sector? To many, fur is part of the problem. But is it in reality part of the solution? This is the question a number of international scientists have been trying to answer. At the Danish design school Kolding, they are studying sustainable fashion.
We are very concerned about what you call design for longevity, which is that you try to keep the material in use as long as possible, which is the most effective way of creating a more sustainable fashion sector.
Så jeg tænker, at vi cutter den af her, syr lommen til, sådan at det her nederste stykke kan bruges til sådan en stola-sjal.
So seeing how fur is being treated became quite fascinating because we saw practices where this material is being kept in use for up to 70, 80 years, which is completely extraordinary in this landscape we see now in the fashion sector where garments are being used for such a short time span.
While the design school has been focusing on the design processes and consumers, a group of scientists have been researching CO2 emission of fur production, also called carbon footprint.
We got this assignment to look at mainly the carbon footprint of the fur supply chain, starting from feed production to farming to the auction houses. Also, we included the use phase, so we covered the entire supply chain.
We are focusing on a couple of important issues that are influencing the carbon footprint.
Feed and farming are really the most influential for the global warming potential.
In agricultural production, the most important CO2 emitting factors are what comes into the production, the feed, and what comes out, the manure.
Comparing this with other industries, the influence of manure and feed is smaller.
Everything around you has a carbon footprint. Your phone, your shirt, even your dog. Carbon is the basis of all life, and 50% of all biomass is carbon. If burned, for instance, this is transformed into a gas, CO2. Emitted into the atmosphere, it becomes the most common greenhouse gas. This was not a problem 1,000 years ago, but because we emit more CO2 than the trees and plants can absorb again, the CO2 is stored in the atmosphere, creating a greenhouse effect and therefore warming up the globe.
The fur sector is mostly part of biogenic carbon cycles. I think they're one of the front runners, what I see, because they have a almost zero waste supply chain, and that of course leads to quite a good carbon footprint.
Branchen er jo sådan set udsprunget af cirkularitet, før det overhovedet blev opfundet, det ord. Hvis man kigger historisk set, så kan man se, at pelsdyrfarmene er opstået omkring de store fiskerihavne i Vestjylland og i Nordjylland. Fordi der var nogle kløgtige folk, der så, at der var nogle restprodukter, som ikke blev brugt til noget.
71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 75 kroner.
I 1930, det var det omkring, der startede de første pelsdyrfarm i Danmark. Der stod man derhjemme med sådan en almindelig håndhakker og stod og kørte fisk og alt muligt igennem med og lave minkfrø.
Men det er også derfor, der er så mange minkfarme heroppe.
Ja.
Fordi de var tæt på fiskerihavnene. Så de kunne hurtigt få råvaren.
Og så hen ad vejen, man også begyndt at inkludere slagtebiprodukter i meget stor stil fra fjerkræslagterierne og fra svineslagterierne. Og det er sådan set grundlaget for minkfoder i dag.
Leftovers are not thrown away, but are reused. And that's got a very big positive influence.
Vi fodrer 2 gange om dagen, så de altid har frisk foder.
Manure also can be reused. Can be used for producing new biogases, can be used in lots of occasions to put on the land to become fertilizer. So that has got a very positive influence on the total figure of the carbon footprint.
Efter pelsning, så tager vi fedtet fra minken, og det bliver brugt til at producere biodiesel, som den vej rundt kan være med til at erstatte diesel fra fossile brændstoffer. Og kroppene bliver brugt til at lave kød- og benmel, hvor langt størstedelen bliver brugt til gødning ude på landbrugsjord. Men i dag kan man faktisk også købe kød- og benmel i 1 kilos pakninger til haveformål.
We're talking about quite a good scoring industry. And the footprint of this industry is relatively positive. That is important to know.
So, fur is, on a large scale, part of a bioorganic carbon cycle and has a relatively low CO2 footprint. But what happens after the skins are produced? Don't they use a lot of chemicals to dress the skins?
Fur dressing is relatively clean. The chemicals we use are mostly very mild. A lot of it can be bought from the supermarket.
The skins are being dressed at the moment. This is, you can see the soap. So we are taking the grease out of the skin.
When we're dressing the fur, we're actually trying to protect the fur.
This one is being tanned, so alum is inside. So they're putting the aluminum in the skin now at the moment.
The aluminum we use is called alum. It's actually food-grade alum.
Basically, it's the same product that they use to fry food or in a bakery.
So if you could touch the dough, you could touch the water that we use to dress the skins. The only bath that could be mildly dangerous is the pickle bath, which is acid. But we talk about acid pH of 3.5 to 4, which is less than Coca-Cola.
But what about the skins that are dyed?
The biggest challenge is dyeing, because chromium is involved. At the moment, we are doing a project with Copenhagen Fur, together with some of the European chemical suppliers. We are working toward a no-chrome solution for dyeing.
This is a new process.
Okay.
We did, as you know, after we tan, we dress the skins with alum.
Yeah.
Normally, we can only get natural color skins.
Yeah, from the alum dressing.
Yes, from the alum dressing. Now we have developed a new method, which we can re-tan the skins with certain chemicals and bypass the chrome, and get the same result as the chromed tan skins.
So these
for
are
dyeing.
chrome-free retanning.
Yes, this is chrome-free.
Yeah.
Chrome-free. You will not be able to tell the difference.
No. So no chrome at all if I test it?
Nope, no chrome at all.
But it's not enough to have sustainable material or certified material. It's simply not enough. The main factor to increase sustainability is to have the garment in use for a long time.
If you take an average Western person's wardrobe It contains 152 pieces of clothes. 57 of them are rarely or never worn. 16 of them have only been used once, and 11 of them are still wearing the price tag from the shop.
If you look at what is actually fashion, then most people agree that fashion is something about the new. This is like the fundamental idea about what it is. And for the last century, this idea of novelty has become speeded up. So when we compare to the 1950s, where the new was really, wow, something new is coming out of Paris, then now it's just new. There's so much new that it's becoming indifferent.
Once we only had 2 fashion collections a year. But since then, the clothing companies have created a lot of new reasons to make you buy more. Today, the big fashion chains are working with so-called micro-seasons, introducing new clothes every week.
Consumers are also being trained to buy fast and throw away fast. So a lot of garments, they're being used for a very short time span, and then they're simply being discarded. So what we're seeing now is that we have this fashion sector just going on as it has done, because it's an escalation of 150 years of development. And then I think the fur sector has just been standing in another place that's tied to older values of slowness, of respect for the material, respect for the customer, and all of these things that you could say the fashion industry kind of forgot all of that. And we need to fuse these two more together.
The question still remains, if fur is a sustainable choice, is it also a proper ethical choice? Animal welfare researchers from a number of European universities have made a protocol to measure animal welfare in fur production.
Kan man overhovedet tillade sig at have dyr i fangenskab? Kan vi overhovedet tillade os at tage ansvaret for et dyrs liv? Og det er jo så uanset om det er et produktionsdyr eller et kæledyr. Og hvis vi gør det, hvad er det så for nogle forpligtelser, der påhviler os? Så vores udgangspunkt, kan man sige, i den sammenhæng er, at hvis vi har taget ansvaret for dyrene, så skal vi også sørge for, at de kan have det godt.
We are going to Musius farm, located in Mikrokastro, Kozanis, near Sciatista, to do an assessment for welfare program.
Quality control is an independent third-party certification agency. What we see and what we register is the eyes of our assessors. And this is the protocol that we base all of our assessments on, and it was developed by recognized scientists from research institutes all over Europe.
Welfare er jo en protokol til at vurdere velfærden hos mink. Man kan sige, vores rolle ligger jo primært i at vide, hvad der er vigtigt for dyrene. Så man kan sige, meget af det adfærdsforskning, vi laver hernede, det går ud på at finde ud af, hvad er det for nogle behov, dyrene har, hvad er det, de gerne vil, hvad er det, de selv sætter pris på, og hvad betyder det for deres sundhed, eller deres velfærd, eller deres stressniveau, eller hvad det nu kan være.
If the animal is exploratory, this is the good condition. This is an exploratory animal.
We make sure that the data that we collect at the farmers, they are valid and independent.
Generelt set kan man sige, at hvis man gør alt det, man skal, og alt det, vi ved, man skal, og gør det på et rigtigt tidspunkt, hvis man gør det, så har minkene faktisk en ganske udmærket velfærd.
There is a lot of emotion around different types of products, and people are using quite often icons to show what is sustainable and what is not. Take this scarf, for example, made of organic cotton, dyed with natural indigo. But I reckon the footprint of a similar piece of fur with the same weight might be better than this one. It's all about emotions.
The fashion sector, if it is to move in a more sustainable direction, needs to tap into some of the things that are already being practiced in the fur industry. We need to take better care of materials. And once the garments have been designed, we need to keep them in use for as long time as possible, which is done through services such as repair, maintenance, redesign, so forth. This is what we need to do, and the fur industry is doing it. They have a lot that is part of the new solutions we need to address.